Hey guys, let's talk about abortion. How does that? That's good?
Yeah.
Great, let's do that. When we talk about abortion, I think a good place to start would be to define what abortion means. You know, I think for a lot of us, we think that abortion is the termination of a baby, but it essentially is the deliberate termination of a pregnancy before the baby is born. So we're talking from any time from the conception of the baby, even if you don't know that you're having a baby, or if the parents haven't realized that, you know, they've conceived a baby. You know, abortion means the end of life of an unborn baby. So the Catholic Church teaches that abortion is a grave moral wrong because it ends the life. It's not that we're hating on the person, you know, of what they're doing and the choices that they're making, but we are protecting the life of the unborn child, you know, the life of the child that hasn't had the right to say anything. Like, imagine if you were going to start a race and then you've done everything right until the day of the race, and someone tells you that you can't race just because you can't race. You know, someone's got to speak up for you, and someone's got to hold that dignity and the hard work and the effort that you've put in. And we're actually talking a more serious situation because this unborn child at the moment of conception has no voice. And if we let people choose for them, then we're taking away their dignity. And at the end of the day, we can't, as people of God, take another life, whether that's an unborn child or a human being. Because why is it, as a human being, we're not allowed to take a life, and we will be reprimanded for it legally and spiritually, but then when it comes to an unborn child, we are okay with those choices, and people can make that choice freely. Not many, you know, countries have this idea of abortion, but a few of them with a lot of influence around the world have a pro-choice idea, or have a pro-choice political view where they give people the choice of abortion without any repercussions or any help. It's like the United States. I mean, the United States is one of the biggest countries, but I mean, look, that comes with the whole idea of well, it doesn't come with the whole idea. It comes with exceptions, because it's not just it's not the United States in its whole. It's a few states in the United States. There are many states that don't believe in that, and they take it quite seriously, and they're very much pro-life. But then it brings us to the discussion of pro-life versus pro-choice. And how do we see it as Catholics? I think you should put Poofy Cloud there so that we can go to the other spot. Since we're talking about abortion and life, let's see what the nerds have to say. Here we are. You didn't do it, did you, Josh? Let's talk about what the nerds have to say. So, you know, when your mom and your dad fall in love, and then they, you know what, then they make you the baby. That's a baby. Human life begins at conception. This is not just a religious belief, but a biological fact. A unique set of DNA is formed, different from the mother or the father. When we look at DNA, we think of 50% of the mother's DNA, or 50% of what the mom looks like and the characteristics she has comes into play. And then 50% of the father's DNA comes into play. It's almost like a baseball team. I don't know how to explain it, but it works. So they come together and they make one baby, which looks like Brian. The embryo already has the blueprint for eye color, gender, and hair type. The heart starts beating by day 21, often before a woman even knows she's pregnant. By 8 weeks, the baby has fingers, toes, and organs. You see, science show science. I feel like Josh. Right, okay, let's try that again. Science shows us that a new living human being begins at conception. It's not just a clump of cells. It's a growing baby with its own DNA and heartbeat. So let's see what the church has to say. Human life must be respected and protected from the moment of conception. You see, the church has always taught us that all life is a gift. No one has the right to take an innocent life, not even our own. The church teaches us that life is a gift from God. In Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5, God says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." You see, God creates each person with love and purpose. Abortion even goes against the fifth commandment, which is the commandment of "you shall not kill." And the Catechism even goes on to say, human life must be respected and protected from the moment of conception. Our faith tells us that every life, born or unborn, is made by God. That means every person deserves to be protected and loved from the very beginning. So let's look at how science and faith work together. The church doesn't reject science. It celebrates truth wherever it's found. Science shows us when life begins. Faith tells us why life matters. Science tells us there's a real, living baby in the womb. Our faith tells us that the baby is a child of God, made with a purpose, just like a purpose you and I have. So what does pro-choice mean? So pro-choice means believing that a woman should have the legal right to choose whether to continue or end her pregnancy. Pro-choice supporters believe it's a personal decision, often emphasizing women's rights, bodily autonomy, or hard situations. When we look at these examples, we can think of poverty, rape, or illness. Some women don't want to deal with that. So when we talk about pro-choice, women normally have this argument of it's my body, my choice, and that it is a right for a woman to have control over her own body without anyone having to say it. But as Catholics or Christians or people of God, we value bodily autonomy, but abortion involves two bodies, the mothers and the unborn babies. And with science, it shows us that the unborn child is a separate human being with their own DNA, their own heartbeat, and their own future. You do have right over your body, but no one has the right to take someone else's life, even if a tiny one is growing inside. And we have to uphold the dignity and the voice of that tiny baby because it can't speak for itself. I could say the other argument people could make is rape or trauma. Forcing a woman to carry a pregnancy caused by rape is cruel. So rape is a terrible evil. The woman deserves healing, support, and justice, but the baby is not the attacker in this situation. Ending the baby's life adds trauma to trauma. The church believes in protecting both lives, the mother and the child, with compassion and care.
When I was 12, I was walking down the street. I went to a small shopping center and I was taken by two guys. I was there for one day, and when you're only 12, you don't know why they're taking you. I didn't have any money, so I didn't know what was going to happen or why they were taking me. They were beating me, they raped me over and over. It was not because they wanted some kind of ransom money, it was just because they were having fun. And I ended up in the hospital, and that's when they told me that I was pregnant. And the doctor told me not to worry because it was legal, abortion was legal. But in those moments, you only want to hear kindness, you need sympathy, you need love, you need care. So I wondered why he was telling me, you can always get an abortion. You don't even have to pay for it. I asked him, would the abortion take away the trauma? Would take away the rape? And he said no. So I didn't understand why he was offering me to have an abortion. He was kind of upset because I said that I was going to keep the baby. And I never saw my baby in an ultrasound. They never showed me. Even though before the ultrasound, I already knew that I had a baby inside of me. And I just knew it was my baby. It wasn't anybody else, just my baby. So I didn't want to give my baby the death penalty for a crime that someone else did. You know, if you ask me what was worse, if either rape or losing her,